also at some point, but
So,
we could vote on the minutes. Did you guys have a chance to look at the minutes?
They look good to me.
fine with me.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes as written.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Oh, I know one thing we could talk about is deciding on whether or not the chair should, oh, I forgot to start the meeting, like
I
record it. Wait a
did.
minute.
I did it.
Oh, you did? Okay, thank you. About whether or not the chair can vote or not, what are your feelings on that? I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, because,
I don't really care personally. I think everyone should vote.
I agree with Dan. I kind of want to get everyone's opinion captured and things like that.
I
okay,
think it does make sense in certain places where the chair might, like, like the Senate, where the vice president only votes to break a tie. But in this case, there's only 5 of us. I don't see, there's a
7.
reason for you not to. Yeah, okay. Oh, right,
It's
yeah.
an odd number at least, so.
It's such a small board, though. I don't see what the point is. I would just
We
say
ever
to
get
vote.
7?
What, Barry?
Do we ever get 7?
Barry,
Yeah, sometimes.
Mike. Who's the 7th?
Peter?
Do you say Peter Denton?
Peter. Okay, yeah. Right.
Do we need to vote on this or, there's Kim. Hey, Kim. Do we need to,
I think we're good with it.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I think it's more of a your decision as chair. So I don't think it requires a vote, but
all right. Okay, well, I'll add this to the minutes then that I will vote. Okay. Well, since Kim is here, why don't we start with your article, Kim? Which article is that? Wait, let me see.
Is that on the warrant?
It is.
It's under us?
It's not. It's under the select board.
Hold on.
I think it's Article 7. To see if the town will
Yes.
vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer a sum of money from available funds for the purpose of the design of the elevator rear entrance area of the Mendon Town Hall. So Kim, why don't you, oh, there's Lynn. Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
So Kim, why don't you explain the project and what you're asking for?
Sure. So some of you already know that we have been working on the main floor of the town hall. Our original thought was to create sort of an alcove space across from the finance department for a seating area, sort of, gathering space that we could potentially, highlight with historic art items when people could come in, sort of for a place where they could gather. But the more we looked at the space, we also identified other needs right in that same area. One of which is that the elevator door actually opens the wrong way so that it potentially pushes anyone that is using it down the staircase. And that rear staircase in the back was really never intended to be an entry point for the building. It's an exit point, and the grade of it is pretty steep. And now that the campus will be, completed, and hopefully people will be encouraged to park more towards the back of the building where it's beautiful, and they'll actually be using that entrance way more than was ever intended when that design was completed. So we're trying to incorporate all of these items into one project for the rear of the building, and hopefully restoring whatever historic pieces that we can identify along the way. So even though that section of the building is actually a new addition, there are certain features that we're hoping that we can recover, like potentially that back rear staircase that's wooden, and there are some windows to the building that were covered when the wall was poured back there, and so we could get some light back into that space. And then we would enhance the outside of that building, potentially raising that door a couple feet in order to lessen the grade and make it match with the exterior of the other side of the building. So it's a pretty extensive project with, I would say it's just got a lot of small pieces, but into one big project because they're all located in the same area. So this particular article, we've already had an architect walk through the site. We know the complexities because it does require someone that knows all the intricacies of both historic buildings, ADA compliance, and just general construction. So we've had an architect walk through. They gave us an initial estimate for just basically the schematics of mapping out the existing floor plan as it is, which would be the first step. And then the second step would be to contract with an architect to come up with designs that we could then choose from to sort of figure out really the direction that we want to head in, with the ultimate goal of being that we would put an article on either this upcoming May or maybe even the following, in which we would potentially, depending on the size of the project, I mean, the financial size of the project, either still have some funding remaining from the campus, which is looking more less likely, or borrow against CPA in order to fund the pieces to complete the project. So ultimately, the entire campus sort of locks together, and fits together as one completed project, especially now that we don't need the well. Hopefully.
What is the total you're asking for, Kim?
So I have two numbers together. One of them is an actual invoiced estimate that we got from a person that came through just to do the basics, and that is for $5,800. The other piece is really more of an estimate based upon the complexity, right? And also upon what we have paid to do this similar work at our other buildings. So I was saying anywhere between $20,000 and $25,000. So the number that I've put on the warrant at this point is $31,000. And hopefully that should be enough to get us from here to May with some sort of idea about the scope of this project and what we're really talking about here. That's really key.
Great. Does someone want to make a motion and then second, and then we'll discuss it, I guess?
So moved.
Was that
Second.
Mike Amendolia?
Mike Mandelia, so moved.
Okay,
Second,
okay. So what questions do people have?
so 31,000 is gonna give us a design, is that the idea?
Yeah, it will give us at least some options from an architect, right? About it, it's tricky because it already exists and we're doing this construction with the campus. So the hardest part about it is, what can we actually do to reconfigure that elevator, right? How much space do we need to recapture in order to do that right? And then how do we fix that rear entrance in order to make that, actually usable and fit within our design? And then, I mean, the other pieces are, sort of secondary about which walls come down. So I'm hoping for at least 3 options to sort of look
Right.
at and choose,
But-
and then we can figure out financially which actually makes sense.
Right. So Kim, but coming out of this spend is to give us the design options to understand what the cost will be to execute something. But this is information we need to even make a decision on the larger portion of the project.
Right.
Right.
It's impossible to really even talk about scope without knowing potential, right, possibilities. And then we have to figure out within those options, which is actually financially feasible, right?
Would this
Where is the
include,
31,000 gonna come from, man?
it could come from historic funds.
Guy? Oh, there's money there, right?
Yeah, there is. Let's see.
What are our balances, if you don't mind?
Okay, I will tell you. Open space is 130,929. Historic is 72,586.
Yeah.
Affordable is 599,396. Budget reserve is 873. $36,726.
Was it,
What?
yeah,
Okay. The administration, this isn't accurate, but, well, there should be 36,293, but they just haven't transferred money back into the general fund, so it says 116,000.
Right.
And then the fund balance is $1,085,615.
And did you say 837 for budget reserve or 873? Because I have 837. Did I type them backwards?
Well, maybe I did. Okay. I'll have to go back and check, but
All right.
Does historical have any projects that they have on the plate for some of that 70, earmarked for some of that 72,000?
well, they'll be asking for the design for the windows, which will be the next thing we'll talk about, but we can always take money out of budget reserve. It's just that when we're doing like a historic project, we try to take it out of, the historic fund because that's restricted.
There's no way to tap any of that 500,000 in affordable.
No,
To
but
ship
we're
it to
gonna
other-
need,
to ship
we'll
it to
need
other
that though for
towns.
affordable housing.
I'm sorry?
Where,
We cannot touch the affordable housing unless it's affordable housing, and we'll need that for other projects.
where would projects dealing with ADA compliance come out of? Would that just come out of budgeted reserve?
It could come out of budget reserve, but in this case, it could be historical because it's a historic building. So,
Right, I was just saying that the reserve has a pretty hefty balance. And if historic, Lynn, has some things pending that you're thinking about,
Yeah,
I mean, that could take a chunk out of the 72, right?
Yeah, we don't want to run them down to nothing.
yeah, that's
I-
one of the things that we are concerned about. We do have other projects as well. I mean,
well,
one of the things that's kind of frustrating is like we're throwing around like big numbers that we've got to make sure that there is money left there. I mean, we also want to do the records room, which we've got some money put aside for engineering, but we have absolutely nothing put aside for the work that needs to be done.
so
What
Dan,
are
you wanna
our
say something?
priorities? I
Yeah,
believe, I believe the priority should be to get this town hall put to
Well,
bed so that people can ride by it and look at it, goes, wow, the project's done and it looks good.
I would agree with you, Mike, but the problem is the records room we've been putting on hold because we can't get an engineer in for this is the third year. And that building, I'm hoping it's going to last over this winter. I'm not sure. And that's an important one too.
But
I-
just,
the-
I think.
Right, but
before
nothing
we
else
jump
should
into
suffer
this-
because they can't get an architect or an engineering outfit to look at it when we have other projects that are ready to go and we able to push them forward.
Well,
I just wanna- can I-
do we have them ready to go though? I mean, the thing is, we're looking at money here just for the engineering on it, which, like,
Oh, she froze.
You're all done, Lynn.
But so, can I just, I think before we get into the priorities, I think we're thinking about the money a little bit backwards. It's not, the whole reason we set the money aside is just to identify the money that's restricted. So we really, for historic, we have that entire 1.8 million plus the budget reserve plus the historic, same for any other category.
Right.
We should just spend the historic first or spend the open space first and then jump over to the other one. It just
Right,
says that,
as long as the money's available to get the stuff done that you guys were planning to get done, I don't have a problem with it.
It
I don't-
is.
I don't have a problem where it comes from
Yeah.
as long as the money's there.
It is. I just
Mhm.
wanted to say, just to add on to what Dan said, that what we try to do is if it's a specific project that's specifically in a category like open space land or historic, we run that down to nothing. And then we go to the budget reserve because the other ones aren't as restricted and you have more flexibility. So,
like the housing, that's why we're stuck with all that money in housing. That's the minimum we had to set aside for housing that we can't spend on anything else. And we're kind of stuck there.
Right. Right.
we use it.
So
So
that being the case, if the money's there, I don't have a problem with it. I'll vote on it.
I mean, I think for me, looking at everything coming down the pipeline, I don't think this is a big ask. I think, looking at the project when it comes back is going to be a different discussion.
Big, right.
Um,
Dan,
But
where did they
it's
put the
con-
new,
we can do
where
debt
did they put the new
service.
well tank?
What?
Where are they going to put the new well tank? Is there gonna be any room?
It's all
the old
identical.
well tank?
None of it changed. They
None
just
of it
cut off
changed?
the line and put the new well is in the back corner of the property.
Right, they're not utilizing that old tank, are they?
The tank got replaced. Maybe, I don't know if you had been involved or that was after you.
No.
That
Last
tank
time I was
died.
in there was a galvanized tank about 6 feet tall.
Oh no, yeah. They had to take the window out. That was a whole mess. That was a couple years ago.
Okay, all right.
That was fun. Yeah, new tank.
Yeah, I didn't know if they relocated it to some other building or whatever.
No, and new pressure switch.
That would have gave us some room to play around with the elevator and the stairs and stuff like that, if that room was available.
So there's
So, I mean, what's useful about spending this money is that then we'll understand what the project is or what our options are. And so that's what's the nice thing about the CPA funds. And it could be a situation too where it's not all CPA funds, but CPA funds are part of it, like the police station, or, a grant might come with it. So. I just have one question. Peter Denton, is that you on the phone?
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Oh.
trying to say something?
No,
Okay.
Because there was some noise in the background.
yeah,
just-
there is a little.
in
All right,
terms
so-
of sorry.
I guess we're ready to vote.
Well, Dan, did you want to say
I was
something?
gonna say, so in terms of eligibility, everything we're looking to do with this would fall under, because it's related to ADA and a historic building, restoring historic, and this is research, whereas like the full project may not be 100% CPA, but I think I'm good with this, so.
All right, why don't we take a vote then? Dan,
Aye.
Mike? Oh, Mike Goddard.
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Peter Denton,
Okay,
Mike Mendelia,
Aye,
and Lynn,
Aye.
and I'm an I also. All right. Okay, great. Mike Mendelia, before you came, we voted on the minutes and we decided that I can vote. So I'm gonna vote.
that's fine.
Yeah,
Like I said at the meeting, it should be made clear either when at the reorganization meeting or before every meeting, either one. So if
Okay.
are you gonna do it before every meeting? Or are you doing
I thought the
it?
general consensus was sort of that I would vote because like Mike Goddard was saying, it's just nice to know where people are coming from or,
No, I agree, but what I'm saying is procedurally wise, are you gonna make that announcement before every meeting? Or
Do I need-
is this gonna be the
Yeah.
policy for this year?
I got the sense it was policy, Mike. I mean, and I think we said go forward, you were going to vote universally, right?
Right, that's all.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it doesn't matter to me either way. It's the chairman's prerogative, but what I'm saying is we should make it known and stick to it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Kim, is there anything else?
I just want to hear about the windows because I need an amount. I just want to make sure that because I'm going to work on the motions tomorrow. So,
Okay.
I mean, so.
I have that.
Okay,
Alright.
and then I just want to double check on your actual sources for your articles so that so if you know where they are, shout them out and I'll.
We
you know.
do, and I can actually send you an email on that too, Kim, if it helps. Kathy Schofield had been working on this, and she got back in touch with Paul Holtz. That I think, Dan, you had some information from Paul about it too, right?
Yep.
She said to me that she spoke to a representative at M&A Architectural Preservation in Lawrence. They sent her to speak with an architect Mr. Wendell Kelso of McGinley Kelso. Apparently he does a lot of work with Mass Historic and is very familiar with the process for structures under a preservation restriction. The town hall, I hope you're ready for this. The town hall has an estimated 48 windows, 40 of which are similar in size. The windows which were replaced sometime in the 80s are the ones that are failing. Some do not open, several are difficult to open, and there is possible sill rot and other issues. Overall, they're also not energy efficient. The CBI report apparently in 2017 recommended that they be replaced. The preservation restriction held by Mass Historic requires that any new windows are in keeping with the original design of the windows and whose exteriors are wood. The glass panes can be upgraded to energy efficient materials. The preferred method is to hire an engineering firm to review the windows and design the replacement windows. They will assess the condition of the sills, etc. at that time. Kathy said we would prefer it's done properly and if possible to keep the firm on to oversee the project to ensure all work meets the requirements for Mass Historic. With that in mind, the cost of engineering plans will run $40,000. According to several engineers, the town should expect to pay $200,000 for the fabrication and installation of the new windows. We expect that these upgrades will decrease heat loss, ensure the window fit is exact, and all windows will be functional. If done correctly, the lifespan of these windows should last up to 30 years. She said, honestly, if you think about the number of windows on the building, we're probably experiencing significant heat loss through them. We have several options moving forward, but she thinks we should plan to go for the best possible option and where we can try and lower the cost of the overall project.
Do we have a number on the number of windows?
48.
That's amazing.
I can go through and
I
count.
know.
them. I mean, I think we could apply for a grant, but it's a ton of work, and the most we can get out of them is 100,000.
$4,167 per window.
Mm-hmm.
How much was that, Barry?
30 years.
$4,167 per window.
4,000, did you say?
Yes, sir. 48 windows divided by 200,000. 200,000 divided by 48.
And who gave us that price?
That is the engineering company.
Oh,
These are wooden windows.
They are. The main thing is we're not just talking about this. I'm talking from a conversation that I had with Kathy because I queried it too. And one of the main problems is you can obviously get windows, you know, energy efficient windows and even wooden energy efficient windows cheaper, but it's not necessarily even the window, it's the fit of the window. And what we need is the architect to ascertain how best we actually do this, because it's the fit of the windows, from what I understand, that's difficult in a lot of instances too.
So it's not like a standard size.
No, well, 40 windows of the 48 are similar in size. So there's 8 odd windows there. And they're going to need to obviously be manufactured separately. What she said is, the preservation restriction requires that any new windows are in keeping with the original design of the windows and whose exteriors are wood. So they're dictating that the windows have to be wood. I believe the glass panes in those windows can be upgraded to the new energy efficient materials, but the actual window itself has to be wood.
When I
as
talked
Kathy
to
said,
him,
yeah, go.
they were very concerned about, they don't want a single pane of glass with the fake muttons. They would much prefer the separate panes of glass. But he told me they might be willing to accept metal clad wood.
No, that's not what they
Yeah.
came to. You know what though? Was that Paul Holtz, Dan?
That was Paul. But I
Okay.
think part of that is whether it would be eligible for grant money is to what extent the level of historicness as well.
Right. So Paul, I mean, he reiterated that information to Kathy, but it was when Kathy actually spoke to the architect who does all the work for Mass Historic. And is, as she says, is very familiar with the process for structures
Yeah.
under a preservation restriction. They're the ones that are suggesting that to actually get any kind of grant money or just to get approval from Mass Historic with the preservation restriction, it should be done this way.
So we're sort of jumping to the project costs now, but really we're
Mhm.
talking for this one more about similar to the last
talking
article
about-
where
Yes.
we want to get the specs and the options,
Yes.
and then we got to figure out based on that what the cost will be and what kind of options, Dan, we have for any sort of grants
Exactly.
and things like that. And would this fall into green communities at all, Ann? Is there an option there where it's energy efficiency?
We looked into that and the payback was too long. You know, it was, you have to have a payback of like less than 10 years. It was more than that. So,
Okay.
So.
But as you
at
said,
least-
Mike, oh, I'm sorry, Kim, go on.
So assuming that they are experts in focusing on exterior changes to the town hall, seems pretty wise to have them also consider the doors that need to be replaced at the same time, right? Or at least get an opinion on the doors, the one on
Mhm.
top of the ramp, right? And those aren't original, obviously, the front door, the back door, just to see if there's, you know, it's all connected. So we might as well see what their recommendations are and then
Mhm.
realistically how we move forward.
Yeah, I would hope that, you know, if they're talking about the cost of the engineering plans being, you know, at or about $40,000, I would hope that including in that we could put doors and things like that, and we come up with a complete plan, not just let's go out and replace some windows, you know.
Right, or
It's
ask
a lot
them
of
what
money.
the cost
It's
would be
huge.
for a couple doors to add it
Yeah.
to the plan.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there any room to combine this with what we're already doing? I mean, can we work with the same architect to do everything, or maybe there's a way to get some savings? If we're already going to have somebody out here that's looking at historic on the interior. I don't know who you ended up talking to, Kim, but if they do that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, if this company is used to doing, you know, as structures under a preservation restriction, to my way of thinking, they would be the ideal people
right.
to actually, you know, do a like a total project.
Right, but I mean, in the interior and the exterior have different types of standards that they have to meet. So it might be really wise, even if the design part that we get with the piece that we're doing for the other one includes exterior, that it really is more added to the windows and the doors, right? Making sure, because that's the aesthetic piece that has to match more than, you know, inside we'll try to recreate because that's a new addition, but outside we want to make that, you know, cohesive.
Kathy, did you want to say something?
Hi, Ann. No, I just wanted to mention that the firm that I talked to today, the representative, they do a lot of different kinds of work together. So it's pretty much along the lines of CBI, only they do the actual physical, you know, outsourcing for the project. So and it's, you know, it includes, you know, interior, exterior, windows, yeah, other craftsmanship. So there are a lot to choose from out there, a lot of firms. So
So, I mean, we have to vote in the money separately, but possibly one person or one firm could be used for both projects if that ended up being, you know, the better scenario.
Well, hopefully with some cost savings would be the ideal.
So if we vote for 40,000, then it comes in less, it can be returned back into the fund anyway, right?
Definitely,
Right.
yes.
So, I mean, if you want to start there,
Does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to appropriate $40,000 for the engineering design for the windows for the town hall.
Second.
Is that Mike Goddard?
Yep.
All right, is there more discussion or questions?
So
I think my only-
historic, budgeted reserve, what's your source?
This would be historic. We have enough to do both.
My only comment is I think we should intend on, if we're gonna come back, it should all be one project for the inside and the outside, just, whatever that ends up being.
That would be fabulous.
So this
Yeah.
gives us all
I
the
agree.
data we need to then bring that forward
Mhm.
and vote on that.
Do we have enough in historic? Is it 72 in historic?
We have 72, right? Yeah, so we have enough.
Okay.
All right, well, why don't we vote, Dan,
Aye.
Mike Goddard,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Peter,
Abstain.
Mike Mendelia,
Nay,
Lynn?
Aye.
Okay, and I'm aye. And you said nay, Mike, right?
that's correct.
Okay. All right, I don't think we have anything else to discuss. Let's see.
Just so the deal with those documents, my recommendation is we just pass it over. Unfortunately,
Okay.
we probably should have done a little more research before this point. It's a way bigger can of worms that needs to be analyzed and get some pricing and decide what our options are, but we don't have time to deal with that right now. And they're in stable storage, so it's not an emergency.
Okay,
So we can worry about that later.
all right,
And
Anything
then
else?
funding source for the courts.
that has to be budgeted reserve.
Okay, perfect.
Can it? Oh no, you're right. Yeah.
And did you say that's it?
That's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
Kim, did you say you were gonna send those motions out at some point?
Yeah, well, now that
Not-
we have, I mean,
Yeah.
they're not finalized yet, but I'm gonna do what I can tomorrow to get them together.
I'll
That would
send
be
you these
awesome.
motions.
Even if they change, or if like there's an A and a B, I can put the whole thing in the software and then just delete the part we don't use.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
the hardest part for me is just tracking down every single new account number line and then times,
Right.
14 financial articles, but 50 lines. So that's the hardest part.
do you want me to send you these motions with the account number then? Kim?
I have them. It's fine. I mean, I'm basically just filling them in. And I just take your ones from previous years and then, just change it out. Now I'll put the new numbers in. And so that'll be all right.
Well, I'll send you what we voted on anyway, so that you have
Okay.
that. All right, all those in favor for adjourning?
Aye.
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 All right.
Good night.
All right, thank
Thank-
you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Good night.